Darren and I get questions all the time about how do I raise higher yields and keep my costs down, right? Well, I don't care what your costs are. I care about what your return on investment is. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, we want to just go spend a fortune, but what I am saying is you got to look at each and everything you are investing on the farm and decide, is that a good investment or not? And with wheat, there are a lot of things that can be done to make that wheat crop better.
I was recently speaking to a group of farmers that also had some bankers and even a couple economists in the room. And I got that question about, well, what would your cost be to get 100 bushel wheat or 150 bushel wheat? And I answered it the same way. I said, well, wait a second now, what do you mean? And they said, well, I mean, how many total dollars will it take you to get there per acre? And I said, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. And of course, the bankers start chuckling. They were like, well, why do you say that? Why does your cost per acre not matter? I said, because it depends on what my yield is going to be. If I'm going to get 120 bushel wheat instead of 60 bushel wheat, I can spend a lot more money. It's just I'm looking at return on investment. So everything that we're evaluating on our farm, right from buying the seed to what seed treatments go on it and all the way through that cycle, are going to be on, if I put this on and I invest $5, how much am I going to get back? If I'm getting back $10 or $15, hey, that's a good investment and something I'm going to try. So for us, it all starts with putting that seed in the ground.
So here's the first step. You got to make sure that you've got the air seeder or drill that's going to do the job for you. And it's an absolute must. You need to put tramlines on there. If you don't have tramlines, then you aren't able to go back out and spray in your crop several times.
You can say that, Brian, but you could have an aerial application done. But here's the problem is now you're on somebody else's schedule. Unless you're flying that on yourself, all of a sudden when you need something done, chances are a whole bunch of your neighbors do too. Now there's nothing wrong with aerial application. It's fantastic. It's just we don't have enough planes doing it. I wish we had more planes so we could cover all these acres more timely, and that would be a better benefit.
But anyway, I like to be in control of everything that I'm doing on my farm as much as I possibly can. So we're going to have tram lines out there. The other thing is the technology now exists. So as you're crossing the wheat field, you can switch varieties and you can switch population on the go. So the new air seeder that we're going to have in our operation come spring, it's going to be able to do that, and I'm super excited about it. The technology is absolutely there. It's not that difficult to do this kind of thing. So if you get to a sandy area and you know there's one variety of wheat that'll do better in the sandy area, great, switch over to that one. If you know you're into that sandy area, maybe you want to cut the population a little bit as opposed to other areas in the field where you want to go with a higher population. I'm just trying to say you can get high tech now with this seeding equipment. It's awesome, but make sure you have tram lines on there so you can come back and spray later real easily without running down your crop.
I thought you were going to steal my thunder because I wanted to talk about variable rating the fertilizer as we're going across those fields. You can do those same things with that same kind of technology, and so you've got those areas that maybe aren't going to ever produce as much as some of your areas that the soil is just perfect and conditions are just right. You can variable rate as you go. Or let's say you're coming off a drought year, or you're coming off a year where we had some drowned out spots out in the field. You can variable rate to try and take advantage of those situations.
You can, but if you're going to do that, you've got a grid test or zone test. So don't just be pulling one soil sample for 160 acres. Again, use the technology that's out there. So in our operation, in a day, we can go out and test probably 1,000 acres of stuff. It's not that complicated once you start getting zoned areas on your farm and treating those at least a little bit differently with fertility, with seeding rate, and even with variety.
All right, let's talk about the fertility a little bit. You can get the free Ag PhD fertilizer removal app, type in your yield goal. It'll tell you how many pounds of nutrients that crop will remove from the soil. But I challenge you, don't just look at that. Look at the total nutrient level that crop will have to uptake out of the ground.
The other thing that I would mention, it's not just about how many total pounds of nutrients you need, it's about when you need them. Nitrogen, for example, you're going to need some early, but you're going to need some late in the season if you want to have good protein levels. You've got to have available nitrogen late in the season in order to gain that protein. So you can either apply the nitrogen late, you can use nitrogen stabilizers, you can build your organic matter in the soil so you get free release of nitrogen. There are a number of different ways to go about this. Just make sure you have nitrogen available late in the year.
Well, whenever we get talking about fertility, we could talk the whole show just on this one subject. So let's move on to something else. We think about seed treatment. It's important to have an insecticide and fungicide combination seed treatment that you're putting on the seed. Wireworms are an increasing problem in wheat growing areas around our country. We're going to even higher rates of the neonicotinoid insecticides we can put in furrow. They're our only choice. We've got to go with a high rate and do a good job and wipe those bugs out, and diseases are certainly a problem. We're getting better products every year.
And so basically, in summary, there are a lot of different things you can do to get higher yields on wheat. We want you to really focus, number one, on return on investment, and number two, we want you to try some new things. And what I always tell people is, look, you don't have to believe one word that we're telling you here on Ag PhD. More than anything, we just want you to try some stuff on your farm. Try some new things. That's how we end up doing all these things on our farm. We try them out and see, oh yeah, I guess we are getting response from that. That's awesome. If you can invest $10 or $20 and you get $40 or $60 back, why would you not want to do that kind of thing? But you've got to try it yourself on your farm. Don't be afraid to use this new technology. Try some of the new things on the market today.
Well, there are certainly lots of things you can do in wheat to improve your production. One of those things, of course, is controlling our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how coming up later in the show.